Hello again, everybody. Zack Attack is here, my WWE Raw review for this Labor Day Monday, September the 7th, 2015. Everyone had a very happy and safe Labor Day today, the last day of summer for most of the kids to go to school. I enjoyed my spending time with my brother and his girlfriend and her family. But now I have my Raw review for tonight. Heading towards NOC Night of Champions. Got some new matches made for that tonight. And matches made for next week's Raw. The season premiere. I hate when they do that. Because Raw never has an off season. They always do the season premieres of both Raw and SmackDown, even though they have no off season. Because they want to copy all the fact that all the fall shows are coming back. But the big matches for the season premiere. Big implications for NOC. Plus, you see by the subtitle. The main object of tonight's Raw was, of course, the Mind Games, played by Sting. As Seth Rollins, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion and the U.S. Champion, had an awful night tonight. And we'll kick off with said champion of both U.S. and WWE World Heavyweight, Mr. Seth Rollins, or as he referred to himself, Seth freaking Rollins. As he was coming up talking about the fact that, of course, as it was made last week, he will not only be in his match against Sting for the WWE Championship, but also has to be in another match with John Cena for the U.S. Championship. I was wondering what the staff was going to be. Is he going to forfeit, or are they going to do like what they... I keep mentioning Jay Lethal. I'm sorry to bring up Ring of Honor, but they're doing that with Jay Lethal. Having him defend both titles in separate matches. And that's what they're doing with Rollins. Same night, defending both titles in separate matches. So you got the turd. But he's Seth effing Rollins, And he's ready to beat Sting and Cena. But at that moment, Sting would start periodically appearing throughout the evening, interrupting the broadcast by saying that he had Seth's statue. Of course, that's how this whole thing started when they had the whole statue ceremony planned for Rollins after SummerSlam. Sting interrupted by being underneath the curtain that was supposed to have the statue. And as we would see, Sting would toy Rollins with it. With a interesting conclusion. But after Sting's interruption, someone else would interrupt. Mr. Money in the Bank, Sheamus, saying that Rollins, I am the man who has the briefcase, and you may not have just 2 matches at the pay-per-view, maybe 3. Hinting towards him cashing in at Night of Champions. Now, Sheamus being in Money in the Bank, at least is better than having Wayne's as MITV, but still we'd have Sheamus be it. I hope Sheamus becomes the second guy next to John Cena not to successfully cash in. Third guy, I'm sorry, I forgot Sandow, who's now still getting buried. At least it's all getting a little push. Anyway, so I do hope Sheamus becomes the third guy to cash in and fail. I don't want him to be champion. He's okay heel, but he's losing a lot with the "you look stupid." I love when he said that Rollins, when Sheamus came in, he's like, "Seth, you sound ridiculous," and then Rollins comes back and saying, "You look more ridiculous." Burn. So there you go with that little altercation with these two. If Sheamus does decide to cash in, maybe he'll cash in on the Raw the night after. But we shall see how that unfolds. But of course, to get prepared for NOC to face off in 2 matches that night, Rollins would be forced to compete in 2 matches tonight against the IC champion Ryback and in a 6-man tag teaming up with the New Day against John Cena and Primetime Players. I was like, why not the Dudleys? Well, we will find out later about why it's BTP and Cena, not Dudleys and Cena. Now on to our first matchup of the evening. We have Paige taking on Sasha Banks. A little bit of a rematch from last week's Beat the Clock Challenge. This was the final match of the Beat the Clock Challenge with only a minute. They didn't have much to work with because Paige was trying to beat the time from Charlotte, who would be the eventual winner of the Beat the Clock Challenge to be the number 1 contender. I wish they gave him more time. Not just in that match, but overall the thing. But to make up for a short match, they have Paige and Sasha tonight. And it was a good match for what it was. It was a very good match with Sasha Banks, the Boss, dominating with her big moves, including, of course, the knee stomp. I love the knee stomp. And she looked good. Banks looked good. It was a great matchup. Interference, could have done without it, but hey, adds a little to it. With big moves from Sasha coming in, and she came back with her big moves, trying to set up for the Rampage. And of course, the submissions. But every time Paige would attempt those big moves, Sasha Banks would wiggle out of it, would avoid it, big time. And with that submission attempt, of course, you not only attempted the Rampage, the PTO, a submission move, but Naomi would get involved, distracting the referee long enough for Sasha Banks to take advantage of it to get a roll up in the 1-2-3 victory for Sasha Banks with help from her team bandmates. It's kind of interesting to see Tamina out there after going what she's gone through in the last week, of course, with the whole Jimmy Snuka situation. No comment about that situation with the whole Jimmy Snuka getting arrested thing. Man, it's been like a bad month for WWE Legends. First, Hogan flapped his gums about being a racist. And then Snuka, this whole thing. 33 years later, you know. And it was brought up against it. He brought it up. It was all against him from what I heard. But that's the only comment I'll make about it. So Sasha Banks got the victory with help from a team band teammates. In a decent matchup, probably the best Raw Divas match I've seen lately. So it's pretty good. Pretty good action. Then we have our next matchup. Tag team affair. Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns teaming against the Ascension. Man, the Ascension needs to get booked better. Man, I hope they can rebound, man. They've had a rough patch since they came to the company. Fucked them over. They screwed the Ascension in my mind. You know, they were so good at NXT and they screwed them over main roster. I keep watching the matches and feel so bad for them. They should be better. So, we just announced a 6-man tag involving the Riots, the new Riots, Braun Strowman, Bray, and Harper. Take in kind, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and a mystery partner. It was almost spoiled that Baron Corbin would be the third man. No! Should be Joe. Fuck Corbin. But it would be funny because I've been referring to Baron Corbin as the woman clown. If we could have the real woman and then the woman clown. Although I did like his performance against Joe at the NXT. There was also rumors about it being obvious, besides Corbin, Eric Warren, who's been out for a while with an injury. So it'll be interesting to see how it all play out. I'd love to see like Joe, but if it's Corbin or if it is Warren, it will be both. Sad trombone. They should have Xavier. Like if Warren or Corbin come out, I hope they have Xavier on the screen playing a sad trombone. So I love the trombone gimmick with the new day. I'm loving it, keeping it. So then we had that match between Ambrose and Reigns against the Ascension. Decent match with the Ascension trying to look good, double teaming in the corner, isolating Ambrose in the corner to the hot tag on the Reigns, doing all of his big moves, Superman punch and all that good stuff. Even doing the Doomsday device on Victor. That was good. They'll set up the LOD there. Was setting him up for the dirty deeds after the spear from Reigns to Connor in a 1-2-3 victory for Ambrose and Reigns. And then Mr. Riot would appear on the screen. But the Armageddon is coming. And goes Braun Strowman strong. He's got a weird voice. You know. It's not as good talker as Mr. Riot, but hey, there you go. Now we have our next situation. Our next match, should I say. With the first of the 2 matches that Seth Rollins would have to face tonight. Him against Ryback. Champion for this champion. With Ryback being the only singles champion left that has 1 belt. With Rollins having 2. A decent matchup. It was okay. You know, Ryback looked good early on. It was not a title, but Ryback looked decent against the WWE champion. He had some good offense there, some great moves. Quite good for meat hook at sometimes, and of course the shell shock. There was some decent little spots with trying to go for a top rope suplex and the vertical suplex. And Rollins tried a cheap way out at some point. He tried for the quick count-out victory and tried to get the cheap win just to get out of it and have enough energy for the main event to at least prepare himself for what it's going to be like when he has to face off in 2 matches at Night of Champions. I'll be for titles, not tonight, though. So after Ryback's offensive fury, Rollins were coming some nasty kicks, some drop kicks, some flying knees, trying to set up for the pedigree. But then Ryback would counter, even got a powerbomb on Rollins. So then after Ryback was destroying Rollins with some big moves, including suicide dives from Rollins. I love when he did the suicide dives and the crowd was saying, one more time. He did like 3 times. Suicide dive off the top rope on the Ryback when the referee was counting to try to get another, once again, trying to get the count out victory. But the Ryback got in, get some offense back after being wailed against the barricade by Rollins a couple times. Sting would once again appear on the screen. And that distraction was just enough for Ryback to capitalize in the 1-2-3 victory for Ryback, getting a victory thanks to Sting appearing on the screen once again, toying with Rollins. Rollins was trying to focus on his matches, but Sting was in his head, playing these mind games with the statue, even putting Sting mask on the statue. So there you go. Now, next week's a very interesting week. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we have title matches, and it's a season premiere. I hate really doing it, but hey, that's what I do. We have a self-tag team title match. The New Day will defend against the Primetime Players. Hence the fact that Primetime Players are teaming up with John Cena tonight. And then the Dudley Boys will face off against the Winners and Night Champions. Everyone knew that was going to happen. And they had a little backstage segment. It was cool to see the New Day interact with Edge and Christian. I love the New Day when they brought the trombone in a couple weeks ago. I thought it would be a one-off thing, but it's a permanent thing, and it's working the comedic effect, especially in that tag match tonight. And then Edge and Christian, who's on the Stone Cold podcast tonight, they interacted with the Kazoo. But besides seeing Edge and Christian interact with New Day, it was cool seeing him in the same locker room again with the Dudley Boys. Bringing back lots of TLC nostalgia for us. Making us all wish the Hardy Boys were not in TNA. Anyway, nice little segment here. But besides the tag team title match, we have ourselves a Divas title match. Next week is going to be the day that Nikki Bella is hoping to tie with AJ Lee as the longest reigning Divas champion. Well, her party will be spoiled, as Charlotte has decided to cash in a title match, not another champions as slated, as she won last week. She petitioned the authority to make the match next week, the night that Nikki's supposed to tie with AJ. And that's what's happening. It's going to be Nikki and Charlotte, and I would not be surprised if Charlotte wins next week. And it has Nikki lose on Raw before she even tries to be the 300 champion. You know? But I hope to God they don't have like some fucking screwy ending, have like some interference, that they have the rematch at Night of Champions. I'll say this. Guaranteed, no matter who wins, no matter who loses, there will be a rematch at Night of Champions. Either Charlotte wins and Nikki gets the rematch, or there's a screwy ending with interference from either PCB or Team Bella. Especially if Paige, I'm hearing Paige may turn heel soon. She may turn on PCB. And cause a rematch at Night of Champions. Like I said, no matter who wins, no matter how the outcome is, we are going to see a rematch at Night of Champions no matter what happens next week. Whether we have a clean finish or a screwy finish. Someone's going to invoke a rematch clause for sure at Night of Champions. Especially with all the titles slated to be on the line. But it'd be cool to see if Nikki loses or not. Especially on the day she's supposed to tie with AJ. So we have those 2 matches named with big implications for Night of Champions. With the Primetime Players and New Day for the tag championships. Winner takes Dudley Boys at the pay-per-view. And Nikki and Charlotte for the WWE Divas Championship. That's next week. Now we have this Summer Rae thing. God. This whole Summer Rae thing with Rusev and Dolph Ziggler and Lana has been kind of a love triangle drama. Unfortunately, it's been plagued with injuries. You know, we had Rusev injured right as his storyline was starting. When he dumped Lana he got injured with his knee injury. And now Lana just got injured. She's out for 4 months with a wrist injury. So now with Lana out of it, and the catfight drama with Summer Rae and Lana not going to be interesting, it's going to suck without it. Hopefully with Lana out, they can end this quickly instead of having it go on longer. Hopefully it has an interesting ending. And with the mixed tag match we were all hoping to see not happening, we got another singles match between Rusev and Ziggler at the pay-per-view. At least, I'll say this, speaking of screwy endings, we don't want a screwy ending in this pay-per-view. We want a clean ending. No fucking double countouts. We want an ending. We want this thing to end. With Lana gone, the cool factor of this feud is gone. It sucks this feud's been cursed from the start. When Rusev got injured, now Lana got injured. What is things were really picking up? Like, the whole Lana, Summer Rae, Dolph Ziggler thing in the locker room last week. Lana gets injured after that. It's like, weird. So, there you go. With Summer Rae trying to apologize to Rusev, and then Rusev mentioned the fact that Lana got injured, and Dolph Ziggler super kicked Rusev. That, of course, sparked the rematch. Speaking of rematches, we had the women match between Randy Orton and Sheamus. I was like, fuck, not again. Like the one billionth time we've seen these guys wrestle in the last 2 months. But it is a women match. I even said it was my SummerSlam review when Sheamus won. I was like, we're going to see a women match on me. Glad it's not champions, but it's on more than eight with Orton and Sheamus tied in one match apiece. Orton winning at Battleground and Sheamus winning at SummerSlam. Once again, the fans were badgering Sheamus big time with the "you look stupid," and the match was okay. With nothing to fight for, like nothing to really make us care about this feud. The crowd was okay tonight in Baltimore. It was just okay. Hope the crowd next week in Memphis is good. I've been in that arena, FedEx Forum, not for a Raw, but for an Eagles concert, and Raw was gonna be there the next week. But it's cool arena. Anyway, so on Sheamus, there was a physical fight. There was a lot of fighting outside the ring. On slammed on Sheamus on the barricade, and of course after Sheamus coming with his big nasty moves, the white noise, of course backbreaker on the floor, doing 10 beats of the Bowery, and of course doing the Irish Cloverleaf. Orton would fuel his fire. But of course, now he has his big drop kick moves, and of course, leading up to the Hangman DDT and the attempts at the RKO. But then countered by Sheamus to counteract with the white noise. But then he was trying to set up for the broke kick following Orton kicking out of the white noise. And after Orton ducked out of the broke kick, I was like, I think you could see the ending from a mile away. After Orton ducked the broke kick, I was like, Orton RKO, boom. That's what happened. Sheamus go for brogue kick. Orton ducked it. Turn around. Bang! RKO. 1-2-3 victory for Randy Orton. Hopefully, ending this feud once and for all. Especially now that Sheamus is now targeting Rollins now. Taunting him with cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase. It is a good way to end the feud. To have Sheamus focus on trying to cash in on Rollins. Like I said earlier, I hope Sheamus does cash in and fails. He's only the third guy to fail to cash in and not be champion. Cena's the first. Sadly, Sandal's the second. Hopefully, Sheamus is the third to not cash in successfully. I do hope that's the case. Now, on to our next area. After on one, early in the evening, despite the speculation of who's going to be the third man in the match between the Wyatts and Ambrose and Reigns, they try to kind of diffuse the rumors by having Ambrose and Reigns talk to Randy Orton backstage right before the match. His match against Sheamus. But as Orton was celebrating his match against Sheamus, lights went out. Here comes the Wyatt family. And the attack was on. Basically, if you want to be involved in Ambrose and Reigns' match, even if you talk to him, you're going to be an instant target for the Wyatt family because they want to take out every and any possible candidate to be the third man, saying if you join these guys, you're a dead man. One. So, of course, you had the big monster Strowman throw out Owen like a rag doll with a chokehold and, of course, his finish. So, boom. Follow the buzzards. There you go. Next matchup. The Dudley Boys taking on Los Matadores. Typical squash with the Dudley Boys winning. But the side story here was, I think, Los Matadores maybe breaking up with El Torito. El Torito got on the apron, and as Dudley Boys were taking control, he got on the apron and got into an argument against Fernando, causing the Los Matadores to lose. Setting up the 3D for the Dudleys, and Fernando kicked the hell out of El Torito. He smacked him around. After the match, there was a beatdown of El Torito, leading up to the 3D through the table. Now, Los Matadores, they're against Primo and Epico, but this gimmick, I think it's ruined their careers. You know, they're decent tag team wrestlers. They put this gimmick on them. It's kind of ruined them. To go from really good wrestlers to being comedic guys with El Torito. They're trying to play along with it. I'll give them credit for playing along with it. But I hope splitting up with El Torito will bring Los Matadores, to get rid of that fucking gimmick once and for all and be themselves again. I hope they, like, next week or whenever they decide to have Los Matadores on Raw again, have them on Raw, take off their masks, say, we're not Diego, we're not Fernando, we're Primo and Epico, and you, El Torito, have been holding us down, and we don't want to carry people anymore. We want to be ourselves again, not be attached to a comedy act. That's what I hope happens now that we've seen the seeds. I know it's a minor story, but it is an interesting minor story with the El Torito breaking up from Los Matadores. Hopefully it's a good thing, and Los Matadores can be themselves again, because they're getting lost in the shuffle, like the Ascension in a tag team situation. Next up, we have Cesaro and The Miz. A decent match. I love Cesaro's getting a push. You know, this is the push he should have had last year after the Under the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. 1 year late, but still. He's had some great matches lately. Losing efforts, but it hasn't hurt him. Especially his great matches against Kevin Owens, including last week. He was still recovering from it as he took on The Miz this evening in a decent, fun matchup. Even though he didn't do the swing, though. But still, decent matchup against The Miz. Miz looked good against Cesaro, actually. He was even outside the ring, beating up Miz, and took JBL's hat and nailed Miz with an uppercut outside the ring. That was kind of a funny little spot. But then Miz targeted Cesaro's ribs, which were damaged after the match against Owens last week. So Miz was targeting Cesaro, but then all of a sudden here comes the Big Show, who Miz cost the Intercontinental Championship last week. He was commentating in Screw Big Show. Apparently we have a little feud against Big Show and Miz. So Big Show chased Miz around the ring after Cesaro was targeted by Miz outside the ring, causing a double countout. Now Miz ran out of the ring, avoiding contact from Big Show. There was a funny little spot. Big Show was walking out to the barricade. He was walking from the ringside area, from the commentator's table to the Titantron. And there was a fan that touched him. He was happy, and they turned when Big Show eyed him, he touched him, and the fan was like, That was a funny little spot with the fan interaction there. Another fan interaction coming up in just a few seconds. I'll explain that. That added kind of more to count Rollins' bad night. So with Big Show not able to get Miz tonight, what does he do? Knocks off the only person left that he can beat up on. Because he's the Big Show. Knocking out Cesaro. So there you go. Apparently we got a Miz Big Show feud heating up. Like we want it. Now on to our main event. 6-man tag. We have the primetime players teaming up with John Cena against the New Day and Seth Rollins. I mentioned earlier Rollins had a rough night with Sting playing the mind games. Here he lost one match against Ryback. Added to it in a little comedic thing. Rollins was walking to the ring. All of a sudden a fan jumped the barricade and started walking behind Rollins until security tossed him out. He didn't do anything. Like, I think one fan I heard on a house show almost stabbed Dean Ambrose recently. So no wonder my WWE's trying to break down on fans getting involved. Not only the Ambrose thing, but also what happened with the fan who threw the briefcase, the replica briefcase of Money in the Bank at Roman Reigns during the recent house show. Even the whole shooting at the Performance Center last week. I know it's not in the show, but still. Kind of been violent incidents lately. So I know the fan wasn't doing no harm, but it was still. He could have done something, like the fan did at Ambrose and the fan that threw the case at Reigns. Peer pressure, but still he did it. It didn't matter why, he did it. But it was kind of funny to see the fan jump the barricade and jump and walk behind Rollins until taking up a security. It's kind of funny. So the match itself, I said earlier, I'm loving the New Day as a heel. I've been applauding him as a heel since they finally turned heel. We love them to have been the Black Power Nation domination heel. We will open the scene with the comedic heel. It made it more ironic they were confronting Edge and Christian, because Edge and Christian were like what the New Day is now. They were the comedic heels. They were heels, but they were funny. They were fun heels. That's what New Day is. They're trying to be like Edge and Christian. They don't reek of awesomeness. Though, they almost. Especially with the reeking of awesomeness is, I mentioned earlier, Xavier's trombone. I love there was a spot, it was like, it was like, he did it perfectly when Biggie did a drop kick on Cena. They were isolating Cena in the corner for the majority of the match. The New Day looked awesome against Cena. They're really isolating Cena, using a numbers game at their advantage, including the added torment for Cena by having Xavier trash talking, of course, playing the trombone. The comedic affection. Comedic execution. Like I said, it was done perfected. It was perfected with him doing the trombone. When they brought it out a few weeks ago, I was like, don't let it be a one-off thing. It needs to be part of their long-term gimmick. And it is, and it's perfected excellently. You know, the comedic spot with that trombone was just epic. Makes it more fun. Edge and Christian had the kazoo. New Day has the trombone. So after isolating Cena in the corner and Seth Rollins only getting in when Cena was getting his ass kicked, Cena got a hot opportunity. After Biggie dancing with Cena and doing some big moves, Cena finally got the hot tag in. Then Titus O'Neil going some nasty clotheslines and a big splash in the corner. But then Rollins got involved, trying to toss Titus around. And then Rollins got tossed out. Xavier got on the apron. He got kicked out. Kofi came in. He got punched out. After Young took him out. And with everybody laid out, thanks to part-time players laying out the New Day, Rollins and Cena got in. Brawled for a little bit. Rollins was easing the pedigree. But then Cena turned it into the STFU. But as Rollins was trying to get to the rope, he was close enough to tag in the Kofi. With the tag in the Kofi, he jumped up the top rope to try to break the hold. He got caught by Cena. Rolled over, turned into the FU, and a 1-2-3 victory for John Cena and team. Even though he didn't pin Rollins tonight, it gives him big momentum for Night Champions, and kind of also gives PTP momentum for the match against New Day next week. I think New Day is going to retain. Come on. I know part-time players want a match against the Dudleys too, but New Day did lose to the Dudley Boys last week in a non-title match. So it makes a lot of sense if New Day beats the part-time players and then beats the Dudleys. I would like to see Dudleys as tag team champions, but I don't want the New Day. They just won back the championships after losing, surprisingly, the part-time players back at Money in the Bank, only to lose it after regaining it only just a few weeks ago at SummerSlam. So, but it still should be a fun match still. A little better than the one match last week. So then, even though he wasn't involved in the pinning decision, Rollins was angry that he lost both matches tonight. Could be a bad omen that he could lose not just both matches at Night of Champions, but lose both titles. And if it's not going to get any worse, after the fan jumped the barricade and after losing those two matches, the final piece of icing on the shit cake for Rollins came when Sting, once again, appeared on the screen as Rollins was having a mental breakdown. Adding more insanity, as Sting was in a darkened area throughout the evening. Turn the lights on, he was in the parking deck, next to a garbage truck. with Rollins. Weak and defenseless and not willing to go to the back. Sting literally pushed Seth's statue into the garbage truck, and Seth could only look in aghast and pure horror that a statue would get crushed by a garbage truck. I know a statue. I didn't know they were actually going to go with it. I thought a statue thing was just a storyline thing. I didn't know they were going to actually make a statue. You know, even though they're going to destroy it later. That's WWE for you. They like to get things and destroy it. And unfortunately, Rollins had a lot of things destroyed. The car that he bought to AJ Security, the $55,000 car that got destroyed, and now a statue just got destroyed. And he was like having a fucking meltdown. If losing those matches weren't enough, seeing Sting on the screen crush his statue to make him the man and make him try to taunt Triple H, I mean, maybe WrestleMania now. I thought they were going to face at SummerSlam, Rollins and Triple H. Thank God it didn't happen. Now it's looking more like WrestleMania. He's using the pedigree, hopefully to break up with the Authority for good. They had a tease of a breakup before with Rollins and Triple H. Now hope to God that Rollins does break up with Triple H eventually, beats his own guy again. And hopefully beats both Sting and Cena. If he does, luckily, by the skin of his teeth, walk out with both championships, he needs to win clean. If he wins at all, if he wins one or both, he needs to win clean. No screwy endings. No disqualification finishes. No countouts. More importantly, nobody to fucking help him. No matter who it is. If it's for Rollins or against Rollins, it needs to end clean. We don't need any interference at all. No screwy finishes at all. Rollins needs to win clean if he wins. Because I keep fearing, I said this last week, and I'll say it again, Rollins will probably lose both. You know, it's already going to be an epic night of champions, and have him defend both titles in the same night in 2 matches isn't epic enough. He could lose them both in one night. That's the big caveat to watch the pay-per-view. Once you got to defend both titles, you possibly lose them. Especially if Sheamus decides to cash in at the pay-per-view. Hopefully he fails, like I mentioned. So there you go. That is it. My WWE Raw review for this Labor Day Monday. Thank you very much for watching. With that in mind, you've all been attacked by the review from Zach. See you later. Yeah.